I'm Dr. Stephen King, pathologist. In response to your questions, no, I'm not really surprised about the amount of negative RT-PCR tests that we are getting back in St. Lucia right now. And there are two reasons for that. One is that I do believe that we have, to date, contained the COVID-19 virus in St. Lucia. So at best, we are having sporadic cases from time to time, and we haven't had any case for a number of weeks, a couple of weeks, which is good. The other thing, of course, is that the RT-PCR has a false negative rate associated with it. That means there can be people who are infected that will test negative on the RT-PCR. But that, of course, will be a minority of patients. And in fact, at this point in time, I'd like to commend St. Lucian public, who to date have done, I think, quite well to help contain this virus in partnership with the rest of us. Now, in terms of our reopening, it was really good to see May 18th that the government put out a slide share that one can review, which has 5 phases of opening. Right now, we're in phase 3, and which, according to the slide share, will be until May 31st. Now, moving into phase 4, that is when the big difference between phase 3 and phase 4 for me is that that's when we can decide to open up our borders. A decision to open the borders to the United States, in my view, is questionable. And I say so because the United States is currently undergoing very active community transmission. So the principle of risk management from source should say that, or should indicate that we would open the borders to countries that have no transmission, sporadic cases, or at best, or at worst, I should say, small cell clusters. Now, that's important because I mentioned earlier that the RT-PCR does have a false negative rate. So even if you test somebody who is coming and they have a 24 to 48 hours before they come and they have a negative RT-PCR, that does not mean they don't have the virus necessarily. It means they may be unlikely to, but there's still a chance that they have it. So if you are coming from a country where there's no transmission, or there's only sporadic cases or small cell clusters, we can determine that you are not close to any of those clusters, and therefore you are close to that sporadic case, and therefore the chance of you having the virus are very low. However, if you're coming from a country with community transmission, we cannot guarantee the same thing. So that makes it difficult. The other thing, of course, is in the protocol, it talks about tourists wearing masks, physical distancing for 6 feet or more, and hand sanitizing. Now, that means that we have to be dependent on tourists to be compliant with those protocols. So, and that I'm not sure will transpire. So I would have preferred to see us opening our borders more slowly, and to countries that have no transmission, have sporadic cases, or at best, or at worst, I should say, small cell clusters. Now, the other issue then, if we are deciding to open to the United States, clearly it must be for economic reasons, since you would not open if you were just assessing it from a public health perspective. If we are opening it for economic reasons, then clearly the government, I think, owes it to us to give us the detailed analysis of how we must take this risk right now with the United States, the economic advantage of that. The details would be important, I believe, for all of us. We're all sensible people. I think we can make our own judgment if we are given the facts. So I think it behooves the government, out of respect for us, to give us those facts so that we can weigh and we can say, yes, this is a risk well worth taking. So really, that's my take on it. I am pleased to see the phased reopening. I know that we all have to get back to work. I mean, the economic side effect of this pandemic is devastating in and of itself, and we must address it. But surely we must address it in a very responsible way. So that means that for me, opening the borders to the United States right now is a questionable act. I would prefer to see us open to other countries, for instance, within our region. And maybe if we're going further outside of our region to countries, like I said, that fulfill the criteria of no transmission or sporadic cases or small clusters.